Different levels I cannot relate. You never win if you playing it safe. It's all a game until you get played.
Welcome to a special episode of It's Culture Podcast. My name is Mark, and tonight the Diddy trial has started, and it was day 2. So I'm gonna break down day 1 and day 2 tonight in this special episode because some things got said in the courtroom, and some people started to testify. And I haven't been doing the show, haven't done one. Just celebrated my son graduating from college. So that is the reason why I haven't been live. But I decided to do this special episode tonight just to kind of go over what was going on in the Diddy trial because I knew it was coming up. And I've been following this thing since the first lawsuit happened. And I've been talking about it on this show, if you've been following me for that long, since it started. So it's only right that we get into it tonight and discuss what just took place over the last 2 days in court. But before that, if you could do me a favor, hit the like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get all the updates. And as I say on all my shows, I thank everybody for tuning in and rocking with your boy. So let's get into this one. We knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time after Diddy got arrested last April that eventually he was going to have to come to court. He's in the Southern District of New York. This is the United States versus Sean Combs. And his trial has begun. And it's kind of moving kind of swiftly. Prosecution said that this case is going to take 8 weeks. They're going to make their case. It's going to be an 8-week case, and that's it. So this just a little 2 months. So by July, this case will be over with. They moved swiftly on the jury. There were some talks before while they was doing their jury trial, selecting jurors. They were getting, they were striking away a lot of people. There was a complaint that a lot of African Americans were being struck from the jury. And the judge just threw that all out, just didn't even try to even entertain that. But nonetheless, they seated a jury, 8 men, 4 women, and they range for all types of ages. The jury is kind of older though. They're mostly kind of middle age and up, but they do have a peculiar jury. I would say that. They have some people who have friends who are law enforcement, some retired teacher, union workers, and all kind of stuff on this jury. Just an interesting jury. But nonetheless, they started and they selected a jury, seated the jury, and proceeded to have opening statements. That's what happened yesterday. Opening statements came out, and the prosecution, they laid out their cause. They said that Diddy was a complicated man. He had a public persona of him being this entrepreneur who gives back and do all these good things in the community. And on the other side, he's this wild, deranged sociopath who used his fame, power to destroy, erect lies, and operate a criminal enterprise. Because that's what he's being charged with, RICO. Operating a criminal enterprise through sex and drugs and extortion and kidnapping and all these things. And that's what they laid out. The defense had an interesting motion and an interesting way of how they laid out the defense. I'm not no law aficionado. I don't claim to be no law aficionado. I'm just a regular person with a microphone, just calling balls and strikes. I just call it how I see it. But it was interesting to hear the reports from the reporters that were inside of the courthouse. As they said, the defense kind of laid out and basically said, yeah, Diddy is a complicated man, but he's not a sex offender. Okay, he's not a sex trafficker. He didn't do those things. Yeah, he's kind of violent. Yes, you seen him beat women, but he's not a sex trafficker. And they kept harping on that part, and which was pretty interesting. You know, I've never seen a defense do that before. And they said, you know, if he was going to be accused of anything, it should be domestic violence, but not this. So they conceded to domestic violence because he's not actually on trial for domestic violence. They conceded that point. And I guess, in a sense, they may try, as this case moves on, to make it seem like he needs therapy and help for his anger issues, and they may bring up his childhood to kind of tie that in. I'm thinking that might be the way that the defense kind of try to tie this, and make him out to be like this. He has these violent episodes, and yes, you've seen him, you know, on tape, you know, beating and, you know, dragging Cassie Ventura down the hallway, but in no shape, form, or fashion do you have any tapes of him doing these alleged sex trafficking activities. You don't have that. So that was interesting to me. His kids were there. We heard somebody testify. We heard of a male sex worker testifying that he actually was paid to urinate on Miss Ventura in front of Diddy. Disgusting. The things that he said, the vile things that he testified to yesterday, caused the kids, that most notably Diddy's daughters, to remove themselves from the courtroom. That is what's being reported. It's a federal trial, y'all. So we ain't got no cameras inside there, which I don't like. I wish that we had cameras in federal cases, but they did away with that when they were going after the mob in the 1940s. So they did away with having cameras in federal court cases, even though we could see them on the state trials, state cases. You never see them in the federal case. And I wish they would do away with that, because we're getting kind of like all the stuff from the reporters. So we have to kind of go with that. And then these weird sketches, you know, the sketch artists, they kind of draw, and you see Diddy's hair is more gray now and things of that nature. But we don't get to see the case. And I think, in a sense, it kind of, you know, we've gotten to the point where we are used to seeing the court cases of these celebrities, and to have this one in federal court and not be able to see it, it kind of gets to you, because you might want to, you know, you want to see what this man has been alleged of and the things that he's been accused of. So you have to get it third party. But needless to say, that's how yesterday ended. And today it was told that Miss Ventura was going to testify. Miss Ventura, Cassie, his on again and off again girlfriend of many years. And they had to get to her quickly. And the reason why is because Cassie is pregnant, and in the way she looks, at this point, she could be ready to pop at any given day. So the prosecution wanted to make sure that they got her together. Now, this is being prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. And if you don't understand the SD and Y, they have a high conviction rate. It is like 95% or something. It's like one of the highest. It's the highest in the land, I think it is. So this prosecution staff is all women too. They have an all women staff that is prosecuting this case. And, you know, they laid it out. like I said, they say that Diddy is this wild, sex deranged lunatic who used his money, power, and fame to destroy and wreck lives and cause havoc while operating a criminal organization. That's what he's being charged with. So, like I said, Cassie, she took the stand today, and she was the star witness, you know, and she described that decade long torturing, as she called it, you know, the torture fest, you know, and it all started when she was like 19 years old. Now, Diddy signed her to a 10-album deal. I don't even know how that's even possible. 10 albums? Like, that's like a lifetime. And somehow or another, she signed this deal to 10 albums with Bad Boy when she was 19 years old. She talked about the physical abuse and the emotional abuse over the years of, you know, him exerting control over every virtual aspect of her life. Basically, he said he owned her. She became like his property. 10 albums. So she recorded. It's being reported that she testified and said that she recorded, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of songs, you know, hundreds of songs, that never got released. And, you know, this is what she was doing to keep herself busy in the studio. But, you know, she only released a mixtape in 2013. And the truth be told, I don't even remember Cassie dropping a mixtape in 2013. I don't even remember what the songs she even had out. You know what I'm saying? For the longest, she was just Diddy's girlfriend. It's being reported that she testified that her sole job was to be his basically sex slave at his freak offs, or the FOs as they called it, which were drug fueled multi-day events where it was just marathons of prostitutes, and, you know, all this stuff is what he is being alleged that he did. He hired these sex workers to come there and to perform these acts, and they were all drug filled, laced. You know, we remember when before Diddy got arrested and raided. We remember all of this now. Remember, they got the drug mule first. He was one of the first people that got picked up off the streets. The drug mule. Remember, they caught him on the plane, getting ready to get on the plane, and they sworn on him and snatched him up. This was before they raided Diddy houses in you know, this is before all this raid and everything. This is before all that happened. The drug mule got caught. So she's saying that these freak offs, they lasted 2-3 days. Why? Because it was on that pink cocaine, that ketamine with MDMA and ecstasy. She testified that she first got introduced to them drugs through him. But she also talked about the kicking and the stomping and the beating and dragging her down and dominating over her. You know, it was just bad. It was just bad. You know, she tried to leave. He was sending employees out to go try to find her. But, you know, here we are. Here we are. It was just a sad testimony. She was 19 years old when all this started. Now, I don't know when the relationship started. I think she was 21 when the relationship started. But you think about it, 19 years old, he told me Diddy was this powerful man in the music industry. Very, very powerful. You know, and he comes up to her, 20 years ago, because she's 38 now. So about 20 years ago, that would have been around, 2005? She's trying to get on. Diddy can make it happen. And then it goes to beating and all this stuff. And it's not like people didn't hear these things over the years. I mean, people would try to wonder why Cassie never really did anything, but it was always alleged what was going on. So it's not like this stuff is new. But the freak offs and all these things, those are not new either, but those things were going on. People always said the things going on at Diddy parties. We all heard it. It was always in the blogs, the rumors. If you listen to hip hop, you're in tune with the hip hop community. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then, so you have those cases. And then later on, they had the security guard. He's a police officer now with the LAPD. He was a security guard at the time at the hotel where Diddy and Ventura, Cassie, where she stayed at. And he testified he was called to address the couple. And he said that Cassie had a black eye. And he saw that she was trying to leave the hotel, and eventually he wouldn't let her leave. Diddy wouldn't let her go. He said, then he asked Cassie if she needed any assistance, but she refused to call the police or answer any questions. He said, at that time, that's when Diddy held up a big wad of cash, and he interpreted it as the bribe. Like Diddy, basically, here, man, go on about your business. Go on about your business. Take this money. So we saw that part. We saw that. So they heard from a male sex worker. You heard from Cassie. Now you done heard from the security guard with a beating. Now, the lead prosecutor, Elizabeth Johnson, she's the lead prosecutor. She really tried to make the defense and try to say, hey, this is what the defense is going to say. They're going to say that everything that happened at these freak-offs were consensual relationships between these women. That's what they're going to say. She said, this case is not about a celebrity's private sexual preferences. It's about coercive crimes. Trafficking his ex-girlfriend. And also involve another former girlfriend who they not gonna even give out her name. She's gonna testify up under a pseudonym named Jane. So we don't know who she is. I don't think we ever gonna find out but her name. But another witness, another girlfriend is gonna testify. Her name is gonna be Jane. I wonder who Jane is. We won't know who Jane is because Jane's name ain't gonna be listed. So that's what happened over the first 2 days of this trial. I don't know right now, based on what we've heard, we kind of see how the prosecution's laying out this case. I'll be curious to see how many. I know they said they got a lot of witnesses, and they're gonna pile them on to these juries, and one or two things are gonna happen. They're gonna keep bringing people up there and try to crush them, and crush them, and crush them, and then in the background. We know in the background right now, they are offering up a plea deal to him as they're trying to crush him and destroy him in the courts. They're going to keep applying pressure. This is what the feds do. Apply pressure, apply pressure, apply pressure, apply pressure, apply pressure. And they're going to keep applying pressure. Hopefully that he break and say, okay, man, I'll take the plea deal. But he wanted to go to trial. He wanted to be a jury of his peers. So it'll be curious to see how the defense in this case decides that they're gonna kind of bring him back. Because right now, over the first 2 days, the jury kind of heard, heartfelt stories, and they're hearing it. They're hearing these cases of of this man who put on this public persona, but was real evil behind closed doors. It hasn't elevated itself to RICO just yet, because I'm still trying to see how they're gonna tie in the enterprises to make it about him operating a business. Because right now, just kind of, all right, we know he beat Cassie, but all right, I understand that you're saying that she was like a sex slave, but it still hasn't gotten to the grounds for RICO just yet. So as the trial progresses, and I'll probably try to do these shows, like recap 2 days in a row. So maybe 3 days, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 until we get done. Or unless there's some spicy stuff that come out. But other than that, I'll keep talking about other things. But I just wanted to have, conversation about this, because this man's life is on the line right now. And there's some serious allegations that he's been, accused of. And he's getting this day in court. But 12 people are about to decide this man's fate. And if these things are true, and he is found guilty, then, this is what our system is designed to do, right? It's not, the justice system is not flawless. We all know that. But this is all we got. So hopefully his lawyers, I see he has added Brian Steele from Young Thug's case onto the council. So he has a high dollar defense. He's paid them a lot of money. He's shoved up a lot of money for this. So we'll see if Diddy can beat this, or the last time we seen him out in public was when he was turning himself in, or when he was outside right by the airport. Because if he gets convicted of this, he's looking at life in prison. I don't know if he'll get all that. Don't know. But who knows? So we'll see. But that's the show for tonight. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Check me out again on Thursday night. 8 p.m. Until next time, Coach Nation, just keep it coaching.